So, James, consumers went shopping in record numbers over the holiday weekend. Um, Took to their wallets, both physical and digital, to spend record amounts. This despite headwinds like tariffs and higher prices. The National Retail Federation reports that a record 202.9 million consumers shopped in stores and online during the 5-day weekend.
Hmm.
Online drew the most shoppers, just under 135 million. Um, about 129.5 million shopped in stores, which is still pretty significant. Nearly all shoppers made holiday-related purchases, NRF said. They spent just under $338 each on gifts and other seasonal items.
Hmm.
Black Friday, not surprising, was the top shopping day, attracting a record number of in-store and online shoppers. MasterCard reports sales, excluding autos, were up 10.4%
Hmm.
over 2024 Black Friday. Fiserv also reported solid gains, specifically at small businesses on Black Friday, 3.9%, which they said boosted sales numbers for an otherwise sluggish November. Now, Adobe Analytics said consumers spent $14.25 billion on Cyber Monday, pushing the weekend's online spending total to $44.2 billion. Now, according to data compiled by Salesforce.com, mobile shopping is now the default method for digital shopping. 79% of online shoppers in the U.S. use mobile devices to shop. 72% of orders came from mobile devices.
Hmm.
Also, the weekend showed that consumers are using digital wallets as their default payment method. This, according to Salesforce.com. They said it accounted for 30% of U.S. online orders.
Hmm.
But the big story from Salesforce's data involves artificial intelligence. The share of online traffic from third-party AI agent channels over the weekend tripled compared to the same period last year.
Hmm.
AI-referred traffic saw significantly higher conversion rates, for example, when compared to social media platforms, 8 times higher.
Which makes sense because it's going to be so much more targeted.
Right? Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
on social media, I see an ad. If I'm on ChatGPT, I'm searching for that thing when I click on it.
Right. Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
so another big trend was buy now, pay later. Spending on buy now, pay later reached 10.1 billion between November 1 and December 1, which was a 9% year-over-year increase according to Adobe Analytics.
Hmm.
So, with all this, it sounds, looks to me like, good news for agents and ISOs, when the residuals start flowing in next month.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they got a nice retail portfolio, then they're going to be having a good day when they get that residual.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, speaking of buy now, pay later, the Attorney General of 7 states are launching a joint inquiry into BNPL lenders. Uh, the six largest buy now, pay later firms, Affirm, Block's company Afterpay, Klarna, PayPal, Sezzle, and Zip, all received a joint letter from the seven AGs. They want information about pricing and repayment structures, as well as consumer contracts, agreements, and disclosures.
Hmm.
The letter was sent from AGs representing California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Minnesota, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. Um, U.S. Senate Democrats are also on the case. They sent letters to the same seven companies requesting details on who uses these products and how many of them pay late.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Now, state AGs, as well as the Federal Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, have raised concerns in the past about buy now, pay later companies vis-a-vis consumer protections. In fact, CFPB issued a ruling during the Biden administration requiring these firms to adhere to the same federal consumer protection regulations that apply to other consumer lenders. But that rule has been scrapped now by the Trump administration. But it seems to me, I mean, with all of the um, momentum for buy now, pay later, uh, there's going to be a lot more scrutiny. There, if not on
Sure.
the federal level, certainly on the state level. I mean, I have to admit, I went with buy now, pay later over Cyber Monday. I mean, I had this great deal from PayPal. It was like, you know, do buy now, pay later, and we'll knock off 10% of your bill. It's like that's a no brainer, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Huh.
yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think it'll be interesting to see because like buy now pay later is still relatively young.
right,
So it's always
right.
such a balancing act, I think, because you don't want to stifle the innovation, but at the same time you want consumers protected. And so yeah, I mean it's no doubt that in 3 years there'll be a lot more regulation around it. I think, the question is going to be over, how does it play out over the next few years as it scales and grows, but it's already becoming such a prevalent form of payment that, it definitely warrants some attention.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of whether it's going to come from the federal, from the federal government or the state governments. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
one of the things that people thought was really cool was when I mean, a lot of the lenders, that is, when the CFPB rule got scrapped. But the problem that happens when you scrap um, federal rules is that the states come in, and there's always these nuanced differences from state to state,
Yeah, it makes
and
it a
it
lot harder.
becomes much more difficult for the companies to comply.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting.
Yeah. So next up, RTP, the Instant Payment Network, owned and operated by the Clearinghouse, has cleared a record $1.3 trillion in payments so far this year.
Wow.
This compares to last year when for the full year of 2024 they did 246 billion in payments.
Wow.
So that's like a 428% increase.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Meanwhile, Payments posted a piece last month about how misconceptions surrounding real time payments and fraud are keeping many banks from using RTP or FedNow, which is the Federal Reserve's
Mm-hmm.
real time payment network. Many banks are functioning in a receive only mode, which payments characterized as, quote, a halfway commitment that restricts the promise of instant settlement. Now, you and I have talked about this in the past offline. This whole idea of receive only really kind of like, you know, it it makes the promise. It diminishes the promise
Well, yeah,
of
it's just,
instant
it's like
payments.
what's the value? It's like what we care about is being able to send and receive in real time.
Right,
So
right.
if we can only send, well, that doesn't really do very much good.
No, it
So,
really doesn't.
yeah.
And data, just as an aside, data from the Association for Financial Professionals found that just 2% of firms have experienced fraud on RTP or FedNow. Now, just by way of comparison, check fraud uh, was reported by 63%.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, and again, to me, there's nothing fundamentally, it's like with the problem with ACH in particular is the fact that it's not real time. I mean, that is that
right,
that's like 80% of the fraud, if not more, is
exactly,
because of the fact that it's not real time. So somebody has the ability to say they're going to make a payment with money that they don't have,
right,
and then or they're able to make a payment. Like the one thing I'd be really interested to find out, Patty, and I haven't looked into this yet, but I wonder what the kind of the clawback, I don't know what they call it, but I wonder what that looks like for RTP. Like, is it like ACH where you can just say I want my money back and get your money back, or is it like a card, the card networks where no, there's actually like a dispute process that you go through and you can challenge that, because that would be the other. To me, the two big problems with ACH are, the delay is a big deal. The fact
right.
that I can make an ACH payment but not have the money, like when I use my Visa card or my MasterCard, if I don't have money, then the transaction won't go through, Whereas with ACH, it will.
Right.
And so
Right.
that's the fundamental weakness. And then the other one is the fact that even if I do make a payment, if I make a payment with my Visa card and then I want to file a chargeback, there's a framework for that. And then I can, I can say to the merchant, hey, no, I'm going to dispute this. But then the merchant has the opportunity to show proof and win that chargeback. With ACH, that's not the case. The consumer can just say, "No, I want my money back," and the bank's like, "Okay," and the
Right.
merchant can't do anything about it. They have to literally go outside of the payment network and actually take that consumer to small claims court to get their money back. So I think it's very interesting, and I think it's we had a situation, Patty, just the other day. We had a self storage client, and what happened was one of their tenants that was renting a unit, renting several units actually. Um, they made I'm trying to remember exactly how this worked now. They made some payments and they had like already moved out or something, and so they made like there was like $1,000 in payments for time when they weren't at the unit or something like that. So they reached out to our client and said, we want a refund, right? And so
Right.
our client was like, okay. And so they sent them a refund. Meanwhile, at the same time, they reached out to their bank and said, we want our ACH back. And so they
Oh
pulled the
wow.
ACH back. And so they got double the money. And our client called us and is like, what can I do about this? And we're like, you can take them to small claims court. You can call them. You can try to grab the money again if you really want to, but like, there's nothing we can do about that. Like, they're allowed to do that. I said, I was like, basically, they just did the equivalent of writing you a bad check. I mean,
Right.
so do what you would do if they wrote you a bad check. Like, so anyway, all that to say, I'm interested in RTP because I'm wondering, as I look at it now, it doesn't really seem to solve any of those problems, but
Right.
I'm hoping that that technology down the road will solve some of those problems. I really think that there's actually like a huge opportunity there for an intermediary, but it almost has to be the government. But but we almost need like a bank to bank or ACH or RTP. We need some way to move money from one bank account to another that's actually regulated by a third party that can handle disputes and things like that, like it is with the card networks.
Like it is with the card networks, yeah. And I mean, Notcha would be the ideal, um,
Yes, for sure.
but
Yes, but they
again,
don't. But they don't do that.
no, no.
So,
So, well, next up, a new report from JD Power shows that small business satisfaction with credit cards is rising. Year over year improvement in customer satisfaction is highest among financially unhealthy small businesses, which I find very interesting.
mm,
That's because credit cards and the rewards programs have become a critical business tool um, for these businesses, the firm said. Now, the research revealed that credit cards are used by 89% of small businesses for business purchases, making them the most frequent form of payment by a wide margin.
mm,
About 1 in 5 small businesses also use buy now, pay later.
hmm,
Again, financially
interesting.
unhealthy companies are more likely users.
Of course.
Now,
Interesting.
there's a downside to all this data that JD Power reported, and that is that surcharges are a turnoff.
Mm,
Um, More than 1 in 4 small businesses don't use credit cards if there's a surcharge assessed.
mm,
And the overall favorability rating for credit cards also falls among those businesses that choose not to use their cards because of surcharges.
mm. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that
And I
was
and I think
really
that
interesting.
and I think that does make sense too because, you know, generally these B2B transactions are larger. Um,
Right,
I tell people all the time now that like if you get above $500 average ticket, you are going to notice a difference in behavior when it comes to differential pricing of any kind, whether that's surcharge, dual pricing, cash
right,
discounting. You get above 2,000 and you're going to have a very significant issue. Now, on the consumer side, what we found is you can still kind of get away with it if you offer um, compliant surcharging on these really high ones because they have that ability to go debit or the ability to go ACH. But when you talk about a business, the whole reason that they're using the credit card is that they don't have the money or they don't want to spend the money right now.
right,
They
right,
want the credit. So I think in the B2B transactions, it gets a little bit more tricky there. And I think if Roger McNamara was on here from Visa, he would be telling
right,
us that you have to be careful there because there's no reason, even a compliant surcharge there. It's like you're getting so much benefit as a business to business transaction. You're getting so much benefit by having somebody pay you today versus 30, 60, 90 days from now, that you don't
Hmm.
want to penalize them. You want to encourage them to pay with a card because then you actually got your money.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So, also an interesting aside is that cash and buy now, pay later get the biggest lifts when businesses opt for alternatives to credit cards.
Mm,
So, I found cash doesn't surprise me, but the buy now, pay later I found was an interesting aside.
yeah. Yeah, really. Hmm, yeah.
Well, that's it for this week, James.
Awesome. Patty, thank you so much. As always, always enjoy the insights and yeah, looking forward to next week and getting seeing what's happening in payments the next week.
Yes, indeed.